Hello, this is Jack Jackson. In this video we're going to be looking at using the TI-nspire to calculate some basic descriptive statistics, both some numerical statistics and a couple of graphs as well. So here you see on the screen a TI-nspire emulator. Right now I'm using the CAS version, but for everything that we're doing in this video, the CAS and the non-CAS version work exactly the same. So over here on the left you'll see the keypad. So I'll try to do everything by pressing on the keypad, and you'll be able to see my mouse, so you see what I do there. The only thing different here is whereas above this keypad you'd normally see the screen, we have a big version of the screen over here to the right. Now we want to start with let's say with the new document, so I'm going to press number 1. So when you either start the calculator or you press the home button, you will get to there. And we want to add actually 3 pages, a calculator page, so I can press 1, and then I want to press home again, and actually I can go down here, down arrow, that's a calculator page. I also want to add a spreadsheet, so go here and hit enter, and then so that gives me a tab. 1.2 is the spreadsheet, 1.1 is the basic home screen calculator kind of page. And then we can also go down here and add, let's see, where are we? There we go. So we want this one right here that looks like kind of like a bar graph. We want to enter that, and that's our statistics page. Okay, so let's go to 1.2, so I can hit Control and left or right. We'll tab between the different pages here of our document. So here we have our document. I can start by up arrowing, and in column A I'm going to enter some data. I can give it a name, hopefully something a little bit more original than what I'm coming up with here, but I'm just going to call this data for now. Okay, but if it were maybe it was height, and I might put height there, or it might be something else. Anyway, we would put in whatever would be an appropriate name for the particular data set that we have. Okay. We would also now actually enter in some data. Now this is a spreadsheet, so it works very much like Excel does. So you can refer to cells. This is cell A1, the next one down is A2, and so forth. So we can enter in some data. I'm just going to make up some data here. Let's see, 15, 12, another 12, 16, 18, 22, 7, 18, 14, 16, 16, 16, oh, one more, 21. So we've just got a bunch of data in there. Okay, so look that back over. Of course, the first thing you want to do is make sure you have all the data in that you want. So I can up or down arrow here and look at my data and make sure I have it typed in. So if you want to type in the same data, let me just kind of let you look at that. 15, 12, 12, 16, 18 are the first 5. And then if I download down here, 22, 7, 18, 14, and 16 are the next 5. And then 16, 16, and 21. So I notice I put those in cells A1 to A13. So it should be 13 data values there. Okay, so we have to get some data in, and that's one way we can do it, just type it in there. Okay, now I want to do some calculations. So I go to my menu button right here. So let me see that. Kind of toward the upper right corner, but right there, menu. And the thing that we want to, so you see on the screen here, and the thing that we want to do is statistics, so use your up or down arrow, and we want to do stat calculations, so hit your right arrow, and we want one variable statistics, so we can type 1. We have one list, so we're just going to click OK. Now it asks us to put our list. Now if you notice, you can let's see if I can get up here. If you right arrow a couple of times, it comes up with a list of possible things that we might want as in our list, and I can click this button in the middle or enter here to select that. Now if we had a frequency table with, say, column A was data, and we had a column for data and a column for frequency, we could put the frequency list right here in this second one, but it's just one if everything's typed in once every time it appears. For now, we're not going to worry about including categories, and first results column B is okay. Okay, and so we go down here and can just continue down until we get down here, and we go to OK and hit enter. And now look what it's done. Our data is here in column A. Column B are some labels, and column C are some actual data values. If you move this over, sometimes you might get a little bit more, see a little bit more. Okay, so what do we have? We've got, there's the mean, there's the sum of the x's, sum of the x squares, there's the standard deviation if it's a sample. This is the standard deviation if it's a population. There's the sample size, n, or if it was a population, the population size, and there are your quartiles, minimum, Q1, the median, Q3, and the maximum. And it also does SSX, which is a sum of, you can see it down here, x minus x bar squares. So this is what we were used to figure out the variance, right? We took this here and divided by n minus 1 for the sample variance. Okay, so it tells you, actually this last one is something that the TI-84 calculator does not tell you. And so it basically tells you the same things that the TI-84 calculator does. Now there are a few things here that it doesn't right out tell us, but there are some nice things we can do because this is a spreadsheet. So for example, I can go down here and I can do range, and I can actually type that in. Just type in R, or we can actually type in the whole word. Okay, and then now I can find the range. Now the range, remember, is the maximum minus the minimum. So I can do that. Go over here to an empty cell next to the label. There. And notice the maximum is in, well, sorry, you can't see it. Let's go down. There it is. So in this case, it's just 22 minus 7, which I can certainly do. But this is a spreadsheet, so I can set this up. Just like Excel, you start a formula with an equals. So it's just equals. And what we want is whatever is in cell C12, so I can type that in, C12, and subtract from that whatever is in cell C8. And so that's going to be maximum minus minimum, and there's our range. We can also do the interquartile range. I'm going to abbreviate IQR. Let's back up. Okay, so the interquartile range, and in a similar manner, then this is just going to be Q3 minus Q1. So 18 minus 13 is 5 in this case. So I can set this up dynamically. Equals cell C C11 minus cell C9. And there's the interquartile range. I can also do a couple of measures of central tendency. We already have the mean and the median in our over here in this list, but I can do mid-range, for example. And I could do mid-quartile. And I'm just typing the, I've got my letter keys down here, so I'm just typing in that word and hit enter. Okay, so now I can go up to this cell here. Use my I'm sorry, I use the mouse to do it here on your calculator. If you're using the handheld, you can use the touchpad or the arrow keys to get you there. And so the mid-range is, let's see, to find the mid-range we want to average the minimum and maximum. It's off screen right now, but the minimum is C8 and the max is C12. So the mid-range is parentheses, got to start a formula with an equals parentheses C8, that's the minimum, plus the maximum, which is C12, close parentheses, and divide by 2, and that'll give you a number halfway between the minimum and the maximum, which is what the mid-range is. Mid-quartile is halfway between the lower and upper quartiles, between Q1 and Q3, so you work it a similar way. You could say equals parentheses Q3 was the 18 here, was C11, and C9 was Q1. So we can do C9 plus C11 and then divide by 2, and this gives us the mid-quartile. So we got some measures of variability up here. We have the range and the IQR, and over there, and then down here we have mid-range and mid-quartile. And so there are other things that you might want to be able to compute. You can actually work those out there. Now, up here we have the standard deviation right there, and the mean right there, and then down here we have the quartiles, minimum, Q1, median, Q3, and maximum. So it figures out all these different things. Now the really cool thing about this, since this is a real spreadsheet, this is a really cool thing about this that's much better than the say the TI-84, is if I want to go back here and say, oh wait a minute, I typed that in wrong, it's not supposed to be 14, that was supposed to be 18, and hit enter, now all the data changed. So let's see, what was that, 14? Notice the Q1 changed there. Okay, and all the other data values, all the other statistics, the ones that affected, were changed as well. So now what this means is we can actually save this page, this calculator setup workbook here, and we can save that as an inspired document, okay, and maybe call it statistics, and then we can open that statistics document. All we have to do is type in our new data here. Be sure to delete the old stuff that we don't want. Put in our new data, and automatically it will figure out all these things, including the stuff that we added here for the range and IQR, mid-range, and mid-quartile, for example. So that makes this a little bit nicer, actually quite a bit nicer than the TI-84. Now let's look at the next thing here. If I go to Control and then the right arrow, notice that we have a bunch of data points here, but they're kind of in some sort of randomish order. Okay, so if I go down here to the X, let's see, if I move my cursor and click down here on the, so I can move my cursor using this, or come down and across using the arrow keys, and come down here and click it, and we can go over here and choose data. Look what it just did. Isn't that slick? There's a dot plot, and so it will do a dot plot. The TI-84 will not do a dot plot for you, but this will. Now you can get the TI-84 to do a box and whiskers plot or a box plot with outliers or without, but this one will also do a box and whiskers plot. So once you're here, you can go to Menu and go to Plot Type at the top, and you have several choices here, and one of the choices is a box plot. One thing that I like about that is notice the visual of seeing those points move up, and as they moved up in there, you can see where they landed inside the box plot. Okay. Now there are a couple other options here as well. Let's look at our other options. A couple plot types. We also have a histogram as a type. Of course, we can move back to the dot plot. Keep missing the. Okay, so we can go to 3. There's a histogram, and notice the dots kind of fall into the histogram. So this one particularly is ungrouped, but you know it may default to some kind of grouping. But you can also go down there here to plot properties. Extend box. Oh, let's go back to our data set and let's put an outlier in it. Okay, I don't think that one had outliers, so let's go down here. Escape should get me out of that. Okay, Control left arrow. Okay, let's put an outlier. Let's see. Let's go to 30. Oh, let's don't go that big. See, I bet like 20 might be an outlier. 22. Let's try that. Let's see if that's an outlier. Okay, if it is, whenever we go to our plot is 22 is not an outlier. Let's go back and make that 30 should be an outlier. Now once I do that, it recalculates all my statistics. It should go ahead and change this plot. Okay, I may need to have it redrawn. So let's go back to let's see, menu. Let's just go back to a dot plot. Okay, and have it drawn. And now there we see that one coming in from at 30 that we can see. That's probably an outlier. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to a box and whiskers plot. Menu, plot properties. Let's go to a box plot. And notice that data value was an outlier. Okay. We can, however, I think, force it to extend the whiskers, and that extends it out to a non-modified box plot, so it goes all the way to the minimum and the maximum. So there are a few different things that we can do with our plot properties. Let's go back to a histogram. Okay, number 3, for example. There's our histogram. And I think, let me see if we can do this. Plot properties. Histogram properties. We can change our bin settings and our scale. So let's see, our scale we can show frequency or percent. Right now it's on frequency, but if I go to percent, then let's just see what that does. That just changes, the graph looks the same, but the scale is percentage, so it's a relative frequency. Let's see what else we can do here. We can go to plot properties and go to histogram properties. Again, histogram scale. What if I put it on density? Now it's doing it as a decimal. Still a relative frequency, but it's doing it as a decimal version instead of a percent. Okay. All right. Let's do some more with this. So menu, plot properties. Go over here to back, plot properties. Again, histogram properties, but this time go to bin settings, and I can have equal bin width or variables. Let's stay with equal, and for example I could say 2 and alignment 5, so let's see what that does. Okay, so each one of these includes so look at what this says. If you're on the point, notice you're basically doing a trace here. This is including from 7 to 9. Okay, in that one. Now the first one we did 5 to 7, then 7, which was nothing there. 7 to 9. There was nothing in here between 10 and 12. I'm sorry, and 9 to 11. 11 to 13 is in this one, and so forth. And so you can control the widths of those bins if you want. If you set it back to just 1, it'd be the same as a dot plot. Okay, so you can control that and control it a little bit more easily than you can. You have more control, and the controls are a little more easily worked than on a TI-84. I think that's all I want to show you on that particular thing. Okay, now let's talk about how we can save this real fast. So if I go to let's see, go to menu. No, let's go to dock. There we go. So hit dock, and under file you'll see save as. So I can save as, and let's call this statistics. Okay, and then save it. Now if I go to the home screen here, and let's just say I'm making a new document. Okay, this could just be a brand new document. But if I decide I want to go back to statistics, I can just go to the home button and go to number 2, my documents, and somewhere down here there should be one that says statistics. There it is. Enter on that one. I don't have anything the other one I want to save, so I just say no. And now my statistics document is back up again. And so now if I want to go in and just change this stuff that's in data, everything else is dynamically calculated for me, and I can look at my different kinds of plots as well. And of course, if you have the computer software like I've got, you can easily take a screenshot of this and then paste it in some other, like a Word document or something like that, if you wanted to like make a nice little report, or if you have your calculator hooked up to the computer with a cable, and you can do the same thing. You can copy those different graphs over, or the spreadsheet. So very cool, very nice thing. The cast version, the non-cast version works the same way, and by setting this up, if you sort of set this up once, then you can come back and use this, you know, on an exam or a project or whatever you're working on, and basically can access this stuff very easily. And the nice thing about the calculator in general is it has this real spreadsheet, and in these cells you can put any kind of the commands that your calculator has in these cells, and build up some things on your own that you can keep and save those documents so that you can work with those things in the future. And once you set it up well, it takes a little more time to set it up properly, but once you do, that could save you a lot of time later on, particularly if you're doing something over and over again, like in this case if you were doing descriptive statistics a lot. You could set this up once and then save yourself a lot of hassle.